Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. Today I am looking at some of the items from the Peaceful Poppies suite. I suddenly remembered that I had not used the Peaceful Poppies elements with you. These are tucked away bottom right hand corner of page 25 and they are just stunning. They're little gems. So we have die cuts in black. We have elements that are just die cut and already coloured, so really quick, easy cards. These are nice, thick cardstock. That's another of the same. Then we've got vellum items and what I'm going to be using today. And those, when I say vellum, they're vellum with embossing on. And then what I'm going to be using today are the watercolour paper with embossing on. So they have an emboss resist. I am using one of the black labels as well. I say one, I'm actually using half of one of the black labels as well. So let me pop these away. The reason I'd forgotten I hadn't used them with you is because I did use them for an event I ran for anyone who wanted to have my paper and ribbon shares and pay a little extra for a virtual launch party. So hence I forgot that I hadn't shown them to you. I'm also using a little bit of the designer series paper here and the Peaceful Moments stamp set, which is bundled with the, let me open it up, so it's Peaceful Moments stamps and it's bundled, if you wish, with the Poppy Moments dies. So let me show you the card, which is this. It is a really simple card. Quick to put together. There are some techniques because I've used heat embossing, but basically that's it. So a couple of the watercolour elements. I'm going to bring in my silicone mat, which is great for doing things like watercolouring on because it just wipes clean. And I want those two. And I've got 3 inks. I've got Old Olive, Rich Raspberry, and and Poppy Parade. And I've got a little piece of designer series paper that I'm going to be using, which has got the Poppy Parade and the Old Olive on, and then this is Rich Raspberry. So I'm going to pop that to one side while I do my watercolouring. This is going to be really simple watercolouring. This is not going to be, you know, a great masterpiece. I am going to grab an aqua brush, and I've got the one with the smaller nib, and I'm going to do my Old Olive first, purely because there's more of it, and all I'm going to do is pick some up and just run it over the element, and I am deliberately going outside the lines because that's kind of the point. I want a little bit more of the actual ink rather than the water, so that's that one with Old Olive. It doesn't want to move, so there we go. And then this one, I'm going to just, again, I want a bit more of the ink and a little less of the water. But the great thing about this is that because it's watercolour paper, it's not curling. It's staying where I want it, which is just splendid. I'm going to come in with some green up there as well, just because there are stalks. So I've got a cloth here that I use just to wipe the ink off my aqua marker. So let's close that up because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to come in with the Rich Raspberry next. And I don't want a huge amount. I just want a little bit of a kind of scribble, and you can see this is a scribble, and then a little bit here and kind of at the bottom of this, and then coming up a wee bit, but I don't want it to look too deliberate. The idea is that it is a watercolour effect and the paper is very much that feel, so I want these to be that same feel. So that's the Rich Raspberry done, which just leaves us with Poppy Parade. I probably need a little bit more ink in the lid for that. So all I need to do is close it up, give it a good squeeze, and then we get a little bit more in the lid. I think I need to re-ink this ink pad. I'm always very bad at re-inking my ink pads. And then come in and try and get the red to kind of blend into the rich raspberry. I don't want there to be a hard line. I want that to be kind of all smooshed together. And then again here. And this basically I'm just going to kind of fill in the gaps. And yes, I am going into the green. I'm quite happy to do that. The green has fairly well set now, so it's less likely to turn to a muddy brown. But if you mix green and red, because they're on opposite sides of the colour spectrum pretty much, they will end up going pretty much brown. And I do want this to be a really nice, strong red. I don't want it to be lily-livered. If I wanted lily-livered, I wouldn't have used Poppy Parade. Not sure what I would have used, but I certainly wouldn't have used Poppy Parade. Okay, that's probably it. Just splodge my aqua marker, aqua painter even. Close that up, and then all I need to do is take a piece of dry kitchen paper and just rub to make sure that the relief comes back, or the resist I suppose it is rather than the relief. And while you're doing this, just make sure that if you get any of the wet ink on your tissue that you don't spread it across to another colour, because otherwise it could end up with that horrible muddy brown. Right, okay, so that's that done. That's probably one of the most complicated bits. Next, I need to bring in my card blank and my rich raspberry and a strip of designer series paper. Just crease that, and I'm going to stick one to t'other. And you don't need, you know, masses of glue, just a sort of scribble will do. And it gives you just that little bit of wiggle room, which is quite nice to have. And then this is going to run across here, and I'll just cut it kind of not fully to length, but roughly to length. And then add some glue in the middle, and just at the ends. And then line it. If you line it up on grid paper, you can use just lined paper if that's all you've got, but the grid paper is available to order. You can get that in my online store. Don't know if we've got the pretty paper anymore, but we'll certainly have these, what I would call the normal grid paper. Just trim that down, and I'm going to pop one there and one there. This one's going to be popped up, but this one's just going to be stuck straight down. And yeah, about there, I think. I think I'm a little higher up than I was on the original, but that's fine. I'm going to use the black dimensionals. I've got the mini ones here, only because this is all quite dark, and I think the black is going to be a better hide than the white. So just get rid of those, and I'm just going to pop that kind of there. And then the last thing I need to do is bring in that bring in the other half of my label, and Embossing Buddy, Versamark ink, and let's see if I can do a better job this time. I was a bit crooked last time. Yeah, that's a bit better. It's just a little bit low down, but it's fine. And then white embossing powder. And I always like to give it a double go in the embossing powder, just so that I know it's caught everything it possibly can. Heat up my heat gun, and while I'm doing that, do remember to subscribe. There's a link to subscribe in the bottom right hand corner. If you're in the UK, I would love to welcome you as a customer, so that's also linked below. Let me just blitz this. Woo! Blitz it right off the cheese board. There we go. So that just needs to cool so that it's smudge proof. Below you will find a link to my associated blog post for this, and there you will find dimensions and product list, which is also below, but if you want to have a look on my website, that would be lovely. There will be close-up photos and all that good stuff, and as I say, all the dimensions are there as well. And there, actually, can I move that up a wee bit, just a wee bit? I want that to go just underneath that little poppy bud. There we go, that's better. Just adhere that down. I'm still trying to avoid the, no, that's set now, so that's fine. So there we go. As I say, a really quick card. Now it does need a liner, and that's probably just going to be a plain white liner on this particular project. But there you go. Those are the elements. They are lovely to use, really quick, really simple. So I hope you found that useful and enjoyable. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. As I say, do remember to subscribe. And if you're in the UK, an order is always a lovely way of saying thank you very much for the videos. So thank you again, and I will look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye!